Okay, after doing a few videos and several matches focusing upon how pilots respond and how they function under AI control, I think there's some things that are pretty clear, at least in my view. You may disagree with this, but I'm going to go over these pilots here about what's good and what's bad for them when they're run by the AI. Now, one thing I learned was how to use these filters better, and I focused a lot upon gunnery because the AI's shooting ability and how it uses its pilots and its mechs is different than the player. One thing I noticed, let me get some of these people off here. No, not you. Replace that one with you, replace that one with you. There, that's good. When it comes to gunnery skill, you have 4 pilots with very high gunnery scores, all at 8. These pilots, when the AI uses them, the AI gets an advantage that's better than using some of the others compared to the player. In those last 3 videos and some other matches I didn't show you, there were times when I gave the AI these 4 pilots with gunnery score 8, and this was one of several factors that made the AI put up a better fight than if it used other pilots. I intentionally took the 2 worst pilots, Mockingbird and Showboat, plus 2 others of average scores of 6 in gunnery, and I'd give him the 4 best gunners, Wildfire, Sumo, Kraken, and Apex. And those 4 are part of the reason it would give me a better fight than in some other fights. So it appears that in order for the AI currently, unless it's improved somehow, currently to give you what some of us would call a decent fight, it needs to have gunners with better skill numbers than what the player uses. That's one thing right off front. This may also be a problem later on if the game gets developed with the campaign, because players will get access to these gunners with better scores, and unless the AI has access to pilots with a higher gunnery score, I don't know how high this rating can go, 10, 12, whatever. It looks like there's still some room in the bar. But unless the AI can get pilots with a better gunnery score than 8 that the player cannot get, and use them to put up the simulation of giving you a good fight, that could be a problem when players get access to these better gunners. It's something that a lot of us know from other video games, that sometimes AIs have to be designed to cheat in order to give you the simulation that you're getting a decent fight out of it. So one factor is the AI needs better gunners. The other factor is abilities. These 4 are skills. This here is an ability. And it looks like they can have other abilities, 3 others, but for now they each have 1. Certain abilities are useful, certain are not. Some of them are not because of bugs. Some of them are described as not useful for the AI because of bugs, but I've seen them used, though they're used rather oddly. Here's my review about pilot abilities. I first off find it strange that the 4 best gunners are the only ones with multi-target and precision strike. I could see having 1 of each here, and then the other 2 could have other abilities. And you could have people with average or even bad gunnery scores. You could have 1 with precision strike and 1 with multi-target, because I don't see those abilities being mandatory tied into having exceptionally high gunnery skill. It could kind of make sense, but still, you could have somebody who's an average gunner who knows how to shoot 1 weapon really well, so he would qualify for precision strike. And I would see multi-target being possible for them as well. Multi-target said the AIs cannot use this right now, and I have not seen it use it. I also, as a player, have not seen much opportunity or reason for me to use it, because it is more effective to focus fire onto 1 mech than to multi-target. They may be rare cases though, but it's not been very useful on either side, the AI or myself. Precision strike has its moments. I've used it as the player, I've seen the AI use it, It said that the AI would not use it in the manual. The manual they put out, they said the AI would not use it, but it has used it. It's just used it in very odd ways. One example was a hunchback that I had beaten up so much that it had nothing but a medium laser and a small laser. I would have expected it to fire both lasers. Instead, it just fired one. Another time was a trebuchet that had one medium laser and two LRMs. I expected it to back up and shoot me with the LRMs. Instead, it came forward and shot me with the medium laser. So that does not make sense to me at all. Another thing I have noticed on abilities, sensor lock. It said the AI doesn't use it. I hope they're able to give the AI the ability to use it. If you watch a couple of my videos, I've used it very well, especially when it comes to long range. I took 3 catapults and 1 commando, and the commando used sensor lock to lock a target, and the catapults would just rain LRMs on it and destroy it. Jaeger mechs would shoot mechs at long range, thanks to sensor lock, and just wreck mechs. So effective use of sensor lock and long-range weapons can seriously harm the opposition. And without the AI being able to use sensor lock, it is unable to use that strategy, which is bad. So it needs to be able to use sensor lock. Evasive is good for the AI. Unlike other abilities, multi-target is what I call an active ability. Precision strike is marked passive, but I kind of call it an active passive because while it's always on, it's only useful if you fire one weapon. Sensor lock is active. Evasive is a full passive ability. Basically, in order to get this, you have to move your mech. And if you move your mech, you granted evasive to 50% chance to dodge all incoming ranged attacks until your next turn. It's very effective for the AI at times because the AI rarely, if ever, keeps its mechs in one place. It's always moving. That is, the flip side of it is this one, Bulwark, which is another passive. You get guarded, 50% damage reduction against ranged attacks from the front and side only. Now, that's rather odd when you consider evasive allows you to dodge all ranged attacks from any direction. Bulwark only allows you to get damage reduction against attacks from the front and rear, or the side, front and side. The rear you don't get any benefit at all. And the other thing is guarded only takes effect when stationary. I could see that as sometimes being useful, but the thing is, when a mech chooses to stay stationary and chooses brace, it gets a benefit from that already. So why would you need this? On top of that, the AI rarely, if ever, stays stationary. It's always moving its mechs. There are very, very, very few moments it's staying stationary. So any pilot with Bulwark can never use this ability under the AI's control. It would be very rare for it to use it. That's sensor lock. Angel of Death. I don't remember if this is on the list of bugs. So far, I have only seen the AI try once for a death from above, and I did not have an Angel of Death pilot on that mech. But it's possible for it to use it. It just seems like it would be a very rare occurrence as well. What other abilities? And then there's this one. Where is she? Master Tactician, +1 initiative. This one's useful for the AI. It's actually 50% useful. It's not 100%, it's 50% useful. It's useful in that you can put a pilot with Master Tactician under the AI's control on certain mechs to gain an advantage for it, such as a light mech going first at phase 5, or so that it can surprise you with an assault mech moving in phase 2 instead of phase 1, possibly a heavy mech moving with the mediums. But it's not an advantage because sometimes you may want to reserve movement. And with the AI, I think only one time I saw it reserve movement. It's in one of my videos where it surprised me, where it seemed to have reserved movement. Other than that, I've never seen it reserve movement. So it's a 50% benefit for the AI right now until the AI learns to reserve movement, if it ever does. So in truth, there appears to be, let me get this guy off of here. I'll put this one on here. In truth, the only pilot abilities the AI could really benefit from right now, as designed, 50% for Master Tactician pilots. It could get very rare benefits from Bulwark. It could get massive benefits from Evasive Move. Very rare from Angel of Death. And the rest all need to be fixed. The sensor lock, the multi-target, precision strike it can use, but it's not using it in what I see as a proper way. So there's only very few abilities that the AI can make effective use of right now, which is part of the reason it's not putting up a good fight. Hopefully they can get that fixed, because I would like to go up against an AI opponent that could really slug it out with me, instead of me just walking all over him almost all the time, unless I seriously gimp myself, such as I've seen some other people do. They do it for the challenge. They take a mech lance that's lower in cost than what the AI's got. They'd give the AI a full-on 25-point war lance, and they'd give themselves a 20-point or 15-point lance. When you have to lower your mech values just to get a decent fight, that's not good. Anyhow, that is my thoughts on the current status of the pilots. And the last note, I should talk about the other three skills. The piloting skill, which affects physical melee attacks and I presume death from above attacks. I'm not seeing much of a difference there, because anytime a pilot takes a lot of stability, it always gets knocked down. I rarely see melee attacks miss. I've only seen one AI death from above. I've tried several myself. They seem to hit pretty well. Guts is a very useful skill in that it improves or lowers the quality of the amount of heat you can deal with on your mech. So that's something important. Tactics is a useful skill for the player because of how it affects sensor range and information gained. I'm not sure how that affects the AI. It is also said tactics affects cold shots. I haven't really been able to see that. I've tried looking at the data from the matches I've played, and it's been kind of hard to tell if tactics really helps with cold shots and how much. So right now, guts and gunnery are valuable skills. Tactics is somewhat a valuable skill in my opinion. In piloting, I'm just not sure if piloting has much of an effect as currently designed. So, and some of these preferred mechs make absolutely no sense whatsoever. For example, let's take Buckshot here. This is a prime candidate I want to talk about. Buckshot is listed as preferring the Trebuchet, the Jaeger-Mech S, and the Catapult. Now, I have seen where I stick Buckshot into a Jaeger-Mech S, or a Jaeger-Mech A, or a Catapult, all designed for long range, and she will sit at long range and just rain LRMs and possibly autocannon down on you. And she will even do this if there's no spotter. If there's no spotter on her team to spot for her, she will come into her own, get her own line of sight, but she will stay at range and shoot you. Yet for some reason, I don't understand why, if Buckshot is in a Trebuchet, she has some strange desire to get into close range with you. I don't understand it, even if there is a spotter. If you look at my last Good, Bad, and Ugly video, part 3, she was in part 1 doing it, and at the time I didn't understand it, but later on I looked at it and I saw it's because there was no spotter, but she charged in part 1. She performed laser attacks, then she was going for melee attacks, which made no sense to me because she's in a Trebuchet. She could have moved back, kept line of sight, just rained down LRMs, which would have done more harm to me than melee attacks or laser attacks. And then in part 3, She was in a trebuchet again. She was the only gunner I chose for the AI that did not have a value of 8. And I did this because I wanted to show her performance in a trebuchet. She was in a trebuchet again, and for some reason, she got into close range and was firing LRMs at close range. I mean, like range 1, which makes no sense at all. She was getting decent hits, but still, why would you fire LRMs at close range? You want to put distance between you and the target while maintaining LOS or having a spotter, because that makes LRMs more deadly. And that's what the trebuchet is known for, being an LRM mech. So Buckshot's behavior in a trebuchet does not fit her behavior in a Jaeger mechs or catapult. I haven't really taken much look at other pilots in regards to this, though I will say the precision strike pilots like Apex and Sumo here, these two, Sumo and Apex, certain mechs fit them better than others, and Sumo's preferred mechs don't make sense to me. The Hunchback 4G, I could see trying to pull a precision strike on an AC-20. The player will do it, the AI will not. When I had him in a Hunchback one time, he tried pulling a precision strike with a medium laser. What the heck? And he was in a 4G. I had blown off his autocannon at the time, but still, why would you pull a precision strike with just a medium laser? Throw your small laser in there too. That makes no sense. I haven't done him in the Victor because I don't use Victors much for a reason, which I'll go into in another video. Apex, on the other hand, her preferred mechs make more sense when you look at what they are and what their roles are. The Panther and the Griffin 1N. Each mech, or each of those, has 2 weapons. The Panther has the PPC and SRM. The Griffin has the PPC and the LRM. Those are mechs that are designed for certain roles, and there are quite often times where you will just want to fire one weapon out of the 2, and so precision strike really makes sense. It really makes sense to have a precision strike pilot pick a mech with a simple loadout like that, which Sumo does not have. The Hunchback does not fit that description. The Victors do not fit that description. You know a mech that fits that description? The Urban mech. AC-10, small laser. Most of the time it's going to be firing that AC-10 at range. I even one time had the AI sniping me at range with an Urban mech with nothing but the AC-10. And if it had a precision strike pilot, he would always be getting that precision strike benefit. Always. He would always be ignoring cover and guarded on any mech that I put those on. So it doesn't really... I see where Showboat having Angel of Death would have Urban Mech listed, but I would sooner put Urban Mech as a preferred mech for somebody like Sumo or Apex, who has precision strike. I can't keep saying that word properly. They would make more sense to pilot an Urban Mech than somebody like Showboat. There's other jumping mechs you can give Showboat. Really. She could have been given a Victor, even though she has bad, horrible gunnery skills. What other mechs make sense for precision strike? I don't know about the Locusts. I was tempted to say this, but it's got 2 LRMs instead of 1. Other mechs that make sense for precision strike. Not really want to say this because quite often it will fire more than one weapon. Not really want to say this. Well, you could say the Griffin 1S with the large laser and LRM at range, but when you get up close, it's got 3 lasers, so that's less often. It's possible for a 1S, just not as well as a Griffin 1N. I've seen some video of... No, I saw this in a match where I gave the AI an awesome AQ, and I gave him Sumo or Apex. It was me or somebody else, I can't remember where I saw it, but there was a video where there was an awesome AQ and it had Sumo or Apex piloting it, and it would fire a single PPC with precision strike. Normally in awesome's fire, it will tend to fire 3 PPCs until it gets really hot, and then it will fire two to cool down. I could see an awesome pilot having precision strike, an awesome AQ, because instead of firing two to cool down, it would fire one, cool down faster, and get the precision strike off that. That makes sense. Not much else. There's not many mechs that fit what I would consider the preferred mechs of a precision strike pilot. But those are the designs. You want a mech that has basically small number of weapons, where at times it will want to fire one weapon just to help cool off while still getting a shot in. The Griffin one in, the Panther, the Urban Mech, maybe the Awesome AQ. As for others, I haven't really looked over this whole list. Her preferring any mechs is good. One thing I would like to say, I think any pilot that prefers any mechs should have more average scores. They don't need to specialize in one area and be penalized in another to fit this jack of all trades of not preferring any certain type of battle mech. His choices kind of make sense. They kind of do and they kind of don't. The Jenner makes sense for blockade. The Vindicator and the Griffin, I've used him in both, and his specialty is Angel of Death, Death from Above. I never had to Death from Above with a Vindicator because its best use was to start off at range. By the time it wants to do close range combat, the opposition is pretty much dead. The Griffin had its moments. I actually did Death from Above with Blockade and a Griffin 1S, but I'm not sure about the Vindicator. Kraken, I'm not sure about Kraken until we see multi-target work under the AI. And I don't use multi-target that often. I could see it being used for an Orion, for a Shadowhawk 2D. I could see it used for a Centurion. So right now it looks like it makes sense. Who else do we have here? Kraken, Mockingbird. She makes sense in the Commandos because she has sensor lock. And she has horrible gunnery, but she can still make them work, though she will take damage in the wrong conditions. She can even make the long range of the Commando 1B work. The tactics I already covered. Paradise looks to do well in a Kintaro. I've never tried him in an Atlas. I don't think I've tried him in a Quick Draw. Showboat does exceptionally well in a Shadowhawk. She's okay in the Urban Mech, but like I said, I don't think that should be on her. I think that should be on somebody like Sumo or Apex, not her. There's plenty of other jumping mechs she can get. But she does exceptionally well in the Shadowhawk. Sumo I've covered already. Witness. I've used Witness, though I never used him in the 1V, or I think I used him in the 1S once. And he spent most of his time sensor locking. There were a few times I tried to shoot with the 1S, and he would take so much damage I had to keep him undercover for most of the rounds. The one time I really found him devastating was when I put him in the other one that's not on his list, the 1M, the LRM one. Because you could sit him in some locations where he was undercover, he was not visible by line of sight, the AI could not see him, and he could use his sensor ability through terrain to spot targets for the others, and when the others would get their own LRS, then Witness would use his LRMs on the Locust and just learn people while staying undercover and out of sight, so the AI would never shoot him, even though it's getting these minor lerms dropping down on him. I think it's awesome. Buckshot I covered is weird. Ozone is okay. His mech choices to me make sense. Wildfire. I've never used her in an assault mech that I can recall, though I have used at least two of these assault mechs. Actually, all three. I've used all three. And I can see where multi-target would be useful on stuff like this. So I believe I've covered everything about pilots. That's it for this video. I will still be looking at some things about pilots from here on forward, but I'm going to try to focus on something else. I'm not sure what yet. When I do, I'll have it up, and I'll see you then. Until then, have a good day. And if you have any comments about pilot quality, you can drop them in comments. You can pass them on to Harebrained Schemes, who deserves to hear them more than I do. So take care.